All righty then. So we're recording here. Welcome everybody. Here we are today, just hanging out with epic entrepreneurs. We are five generations. We're missing a couple of them right now. Five generations means we've got people in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, and in their 60s. Five generations of epic entrepreneurs, and our whole goal is starting January 2nd to have what we call Get Your Biz Lean in 2016. It's a 30-day epic business challenge that we feel like is really going to help people. So if you think that's a good idea, give us some love. Yoo-hoo! Hands up, love, love, love.
When people do hands, it's so fun.
Yeah, there you go. Because, what we're looking at is what do successful people do? I've heard Brendan Burchard talk about that a lot, and the distinctions between what successful people do and what unsuccessful people do. What do you think the distinctions are, Cheryl?
I think that successful people dig deep and find their passion. And I think when you're walking in that passion and know that you're walking towards something, I think that's where success comes in. I think that's the most defining thing that I've seen with people that, they have a plan, not so much that they have a plan, but they know that they're constantly doing whatever they need to do daily to move towards it, because they know ultimately that they've got this passion that they're trying to reach. And I think it's really one of the most important pieces of your why. Why are you doing this with whatever it is you're doing?
Yeah. Stephanie, what about
I agree.
you?
Well, I was thinking, I think it's funny. I have another one I want to add to it, but I kind of want to comment on what Cheryl was just saying, because one of the books I'm reading this month is 3 Feet from Gold by Greg Reed. And it's a really good book. But it's, when it comes down to your passion, what Cheryl was talking about, when you are 3 feet from gold, the only thing that's going to keep you going is how much passion you have for it. Because the people who are successful, they've pushed through some serious problems and they've made it out the other side. The only reason they did that was because they cared that much about the outcome. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think that's a big, big deal. But the other thing that successful people do, my number one key is they actually take action. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have ideas. I used to have way awesome ideas. I had so many cool things to trademark. I even had, I don't know if anyone is going to remember this, right? I'm the 20s phase, so I might be remembering something that none of you guys actually paid attention to at that point. But when I was growing up, there was this really big thing called Happy Bunny. And Happy Bunny was this super sarcastic.
Uh-oh.
What happened to her?
I guess the bunny got too happy. I don't know.
The bunny's hopping around really, really happy, and Stephanie's trying to find the happy bunny.
So happy I'm out here. Well, what's interesting is that I thought when she said that, I thought, well, maybe I'll know what she's talking about, because I have boys, right, in their 20s. I have absolutely no idea what Happy Bunny is. So
I know. Let me just see. Hey, Jose, we're going to hold on a minute because we've got some of our other generations of women coming on. And if we have somebody come on at the end, we'll bring you on.
And so there comes Stephanie back again.
Stephanie back
in. I don't know what happened.
Happy Bunny?
Yes, so I was talking about Happy Bunny. So when I was younger, there was this Happy Bunny was a big deal, and everyone wore Happy Bunny shirts and keychains and everything. And I came up with this. Now, Happy Bunny was not good or nice. He was sarcastic and mean and rude. And when I was younger, I came up with an alternative to him, and it was I don't remember what it was, but it was a little donkey instead. And he would have actually inspiring, cool things to say, kind of the opposite of Happy Bunny. Uh-huh. And I never actually took action on putting it out there and getting it promoted. And I look at that and I'm like, if I had taken action, that's just one that I actually remember. But if I'd taken action on that, Can you imagine where I'd be now? There's stories of 13, 14-year-old kids starting companies and running multi-million-dollar companies by the time they're 18, 19, 20, because they took action on an idea that they had instead of sitting there and waiting for something to come along.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, that is a great point. So we've got Cheryl talking about the passion and you talking about taking action. And it is both components. And one of the things that Brendon Burchard was talking about is, there's no success gene. I mean, it's not like you can be in any culture, any background, no matter what's going on. But what he did say is, this is what people say. Well, I don't know how. And that stops them. And then they say, I don't have that. And it stops them. Or I'm not like them. And it stops them. But he said the successful people say, I can't do that. Let me go find out how. All right. I'm not like them. Let me learn to be like them. Stephanie, your great book, Friend Power. Hey, the people you hang around with, if you want to be successful, hang around with successful people. That's, number one, find some. And you know what? Successful people love to mentor. So find them. Yeah. And so that was some of the distinction. And I thought, that's really good, because the successful people, nothing stops them from taking action, from holding on to their passion. It doesn't matter what you say to them, like, I don't agree with you. That's a stupid idea. They go, well, thank you for sharing. And they're still passionate. Let me move on. I'll tell you, this is an example. Last night I had the kids over, say kids are 24. They're creating the Suicide Prevention FEET group, SPF, to protect people against suicide. And one of the ones said, her boyfriend said that Randy just talks too much about it. And I said, well, good for you, Randy. Keep talking about it because it's important. And if he doesn't want to get on board, that's okay. But you shouldn't stop doing your passion simply because somebody's tired of hearing about it. So what do you think? What else? What else for being the distinction between happy and unhappy and success and how that works?
I think just on happy and unhappy, I think happy people choose to be happy and unhappy people wait for happiness to come to them, which kind of goes to the whole action thing I just talked about. Like happy people make a decision and they act on it. And they say, you know what? Life is good. Deer ran out and hit my car and I've got 6 events going on this weekend. And, one of them just called and said that, the props that aren't working and all these things are going wrong. But you know what? It's a great freaking day and I'm going to be happy about it. Like happy people make that decision. They don't wait for happiness to come.
I absolutely agree. It's funny because I have my older son who, it's funny because when he was in kindergarten, he couldn't wait to be, in elementary school. And then when he got in elementary school, he couldn't wait to be in middle school. And then when he was in middle school, he wanted to be in high school. And one day I said to him, I said, you're never where you are. You're always about where you're going to be and you don't appreciate the moment. So he actually has this big thing that he put up called Live for the Now. Because we've talked about it so much, because he realizes that, if I don't appreciate where I am right now in this moment, pretty soon I'll realize my whole life has gone by and I'll, because he's always thinking about where he's going to be and not where he is. And it's really a lot to just choose to embrace the moment, good, bad, because we get to learn if it's not a good moment and we get to enjoy it if it is, but it's our moment. And if we don't appreciate it in that moment, we miss it. So,
when we look at this overall about the choice to be happy, one thing that Brandon did say was, the limiting belief is something that successful people shift. He actually said that they have the mindset game. And you know how I feel about that. I say the mindset is set no matter if it's good or bad. So I talk about it's the mind shift game. But again, the point is that those limiting beliefs, unsuccessful people believe them. Successful people only look at them as momentary things. It's not an ingrained, that's going to be the way it is forever. And Cheryl, to your point, being in that moment and enjoying it, and also being able to simultaneously say, I'm not where I want to be, but I know where I'm going. And I'm enjoying the moment right here and now. And so that really, sort of brings it together. So let's talk about with our 30-day challenge and coming up January 2nd and how people can go to that. What are we really trying to get people to look at in taking a 30-day challenge, Stephanie?
What we want you guys to look at is, 30 days is about, it's not quite the amount of time it takes to make a habit, but 30 days is enough time to get you started, get things kicked off. Right now I'm talking to a lot of people about next year, and I'm hearing a lot of people tell me, well, I'll deal with that after the holidays over. Yeah. I'll deal with that after the holidays. And the point is, if you wait to deal with it till after the holidays, you will not get anything to kick you off and to go anywhere and do anything great until maybe February or March. Mm-hmm. So our point with this whole 30-day challenge is we want you guys to have something to inspire you, to motivate you, to give you a quick start in 2016, because 2016 really can be your year. You can do whatever you want with it this year. But you do have to make that decision. You do have to actually take action on it. And that's the purpose of the 30-day challenge, is to get you to take action and to align the things that we feel need to be in place. Our experience, right? I think combined, we probably have more than, a century of experience
right.
In business. And with all of our experience, these are the things we've looked at and said, these are the important things you have to have in place to be successful. That's what we're compiling into this 30-day challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting on Facebook, starting about 5 days ago, I've been doing a picture a day. And that picture a day says 2016 is going to be an epic year. Type yes if you agree. You cannot believe the interaction that's going on because of that. And everybody that says yes, I've gone over and found something on their Facebook that I can acknowledge them for about being epic, and just making that decision, because it is a decision. It's a mind shift first that 2016 is my year. And I said, who believes that 2016 is going to be an epic year and that it's your best year ever? Say yes. And then each day I share a different picture. It might say 2016 is going to be an epic year because it's wide open. And I have this, highway that looks wide open. So I think that anything is possible, and we're trying to bring people in to really set the foundation for their 2016. We know that it's going to take doing that on a continual basis, but we're just trying to lay the foundation in 30 days and get people excited so they don't get to the end of January and go, what happened in 2016, which is what people think. So why would you invite people, Cheryl, to come to this 30-day challenge? What's in it for them? That's always what it is. What's in it for me?
What's in it for me?
What's in it for them?
The one thing I would say is, and what I want to get out of it is that, I've done this, in years where I set goals and, or I'll say, I want to do this. And then pretty soon it's like I have my New Year's resolutions, right? And all of a sudden I realize it's March and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I haven't started them yet, Any action steps, as you were saying, the action piece that needs to go with it. So one of the things is I remember my mom, and, my mom's not with us anymore, but she said one time, she said, man, 2001, I think it was, that's going to be my year. That's going to be my year. And I remember saying to her, I said, great, what are you going to do differently? I'm glad it's going to be your year. What are you going to do different? And she kind of got mad at me, like, well, because then she just like, it's going to be luck, right? It's going to be my lucky year. And I'm like, but if you really want to make a change, you have to figure out what it is you want and move towards it. And that gets back to the whole action piece. And I think this needs to be about setting, those New Year's resolutions and not doing so many that you're overwhelmed, picking the ones that are really resonating with what you're wanting, and then putting the action steps behind it. I think if we give people that piece, so they can start to move forward with action, that'll be the most important thing we can do for them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that's if nothing else, guys, that's a great point and a really good reason to make sure you're part of this 30-day challenge. It's free. Like, there's no reason not to do it. Take some time, make some effort, and make a difference for yourself. Mm-hmm. You just hit the nail on the head, actually, because I've been seeing all these, like, 2016 is going to be my year. 2016 is going to be I'm seeing them all over Facebook at this point. Mm-hmm. And some of them are just irritating me. Like when I see the person posting it, I'm like, really? Like, come on. Mm-hmm. And you just hit it. Like, what are you going to do that's going to make 2016 different from 2015? How are you going to make it different? Or is it just going to be different because you say it's going to be different? Sorry, no offense, but that's not always the way it works.
How are you going to own it? You know, how you
yeah. Well, and different could be good or bad. So this could be your year of car accidents. Really? Is that what you want to claim over yourself? No.
Yeah. What's gonna empower and inspire you? And that's what we're going to be working on. We're going to cover 4 different areas. We're actually going to cover the first week mind shift. Myself and Yasmin are really going to key on that. And then Stephanie, you're going to be covering on the financial end. And then Cheryl is going to be doing relationships. So we've been kind of hanging out here, but let me give even a more proper introduction. With Cheryl Bassett here, her project, Kitchen Table Conversations, is all about creating those relationships at the kitchen table, because the boardroom is nothing without, the family and the structure that helps people in the boardroom. If you see any of the issues going in the boardroom today, it's usually because they did not have that foundation. And Cheryl's project was actually named one of the next best brilliant ideas. And Brendan Burchard was one of the judges who selected that. He knows value. And so he selected Cheryl for that. So Cheryl, thank you for what you're going to bring to the table about relationships. And Stephanie, should I call you Stephanie Dupree now? Scheller Dupree.
I'm still going Scheller just because I've got all my branding under Scheller. So I've been going Scheller, but you can call me Dupre. I'll answer both ways.
Dupre, okay. See, I always say that with a Southern accent, I can mangle any word. So Dupre, okay. Anyway, so Stephanie's just gotten married. She's in her 20s. She represents that group of our 5 generations, and already has written a book called Friend Power. So this is amazing. In fact, last night, Stephanie, you'll be glad to know that I told the ladies, these girls that are getting donations from the businesses and all, that I'll make sure they get to have a link to the copy of your book to share with everybody in their suicide prevention group. I said, I'm making an executive decision. I know I can get Stephanie to do that. Twist her arm. And because I said, I think this book will be great for you all. It'll be great for your book to really start to define that, who you're hanging out with. So what do you all think you're going to bring to the week that you cover? And by the way, January 2nd, we'll be kicking it off on a Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Then on the 4th, we'll start. Each Monday, we'll have a 15-minute blab. Then we'll move right over to a hangout where we can screen share and dive a little bit deeper. So Stephanie, finance is going to come up before the relationship. So why don't you go ahead and cover, because you've got to jump off here in a minute anyway.
So, when it comes to finances cause a lot of stress for people. And I'm not a financial planner, and I'm not a budget person. What I'm going to talk about is how to create more finances for yourself in 2016. I was reading an article, and the guy said it's easier to find a way to make $500 each month to add to your budget than it is to find a way to cut $500 a month from your budget. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm going to talk with you about, how you can take your business into a new direction, cash flow wise. I'm a sales trainer. I teach people how to go after the money themselves. I don't believe that money comes to you just because you want it. I believe that you have to go out and fight for it and make it happen for yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about, is how to do that and how to have the right mindset regarding finances, because there is such a thing as a poverty mindset, and it will hold you back and it will ruin your year unless you can get past it. And I'm a huge believer that unless you get your mindset in the right place, first thing we're going to do is get your mindset in the right place financially. Your beliefs, we're going to address, if you don't in the Mind Shift week, we're going to address the beliefs that people have about finances, and how they've held people back, and setting goals financially. And then the last thing we'll talk about is, how do you get there? What do you do from here? We got the right mindset. We got the right goals. How do we actually make it happen?
That sounds great. And so what I hope we can do is continue to tweak the language where we're totally even talking about our mind shift with finances, because shifting sounds like it's always moving and it's in action. It's being proactive. And so it's sort of a tweak that I've been fun to, work with and help entrepreneurs with. And I know you're going to be doing an absolutely outstanding job, Stephanie. So, Cheryl, what about relationships? And then we'll jump off as Yasmin comes on. We'll leave Cheryl by herself here. Stephanie and I have got to jump off for a moment. It'll keep going, though, because I won't X out. But even though I X out, you'll still be here, Cheryl. So you keep carrying on until Yasmin gets here. But what about relationships?
So, with relationships, I think it's definitely, as you know, Dottie, it's all about the mind shift. But it's also about, for me, I think a lot of it's going to center around, how you can have those transparent and honest conversations with someone and respect while having that conversation. Because too often, and of course, a lot of mine starts around the dinner table, not necessarily the dinner, but around the kitchen table in terms of having those conversations with your family. But those same conversations, the same things that help guide a great conversation around the kitchen table are the same things that guide it around the boardroom tables. And, and how do we really start to learn how to listen to one another? It's all about really listening. And so we're going to delve into, some of that and some really, I think, fun things of ways of looking at it. And I'll share one little one just because to give you a sort of an idea. But one of the things we did was we had this "don't shoot the duck," and we changed it to "don't quack the duck" because we thought the word for small kids wasn't a good idea. But it really came from a concept of a friend of mine who was in a meeting. And if somebody had an idea, the duck representing the idea, you could compliment it, you could augment it, you could build upon it. But what you couldn't do was, shoot it down in that case or quack the duck. So we have this little duck. And what's so funny is that we take it into boardroom settings. And I know you guys all know this, but negative people sometimes don't know they're negative. That little duck is so powerful because when somebody has an idea, the first thing that somebody who's maybe not realizing they're negative, they'll immediately start to shoot that idea down, right? They'll just go, that won't work, and here's why it won't. And it doesn't mean that person had a good idea, but everyone's idea deserves to be respected and heard. And it's about listening to that person and respecting that person. And I think that, along with learning to celebrate, our differences and learning to celebrate ourselves is so important. It's sometimes harder to celebrate ourselves if we feel like we're different, but learning to do that. And I think, Dottie, it would really fit into a lot of the things we're doing, like with the suicide, because, if we can learn to embrace the uniqueness that we are, it'll be amazing, right? And also, but learn to, respect and appreciate that the world's a beautiful place because we're all different. We all have different talents and we can all bring those together. So that's some of the things that I really want to hit on and give some really great little ways to kind of bring those to life.
Cheryl, those are some awesome points. And Stephanie, same with you. I'm like, I can't wait to be a part of it. This is why I brought all the people that are smarter than me to the table so that we can have this platform so that I can learn. Seriously, my daily intention is Ankara and Paro. That means I am still learning. And Michelangelo actually spoke that at the age of 87 at the Painting the Sistine Chapel. So, Cheryl, what you said is a great segue, first of all, into Stephanie and I jumping off, but what you'll be able to talk about epic with kids. And this is why just helping people understand you are epic. You're so amazing. And so what we have to offer you is how to discover your epic code. Okay. There's a link down there that is listed and it says epicpreneurs.com. Okay. So when you go to that link down there, then you're just going to use that and discover your epic code. And then when that's finished, a box is going to pop up thanking you for discovering it. It's going to let you click on that, and that's going to take you over to where you can actually come on board for the 30-day challenge. Go ahead and get yourself signed up because it's complimentary. And when you do that, you'll kind of be able to see what it's all about and what we're going to be doing. So again, just to call your attention to it, down there in the messages and all, if you look at that, you're going to see the link. We've got two. We've got in there that you can go to. But if you kind of look at it about the Epic Entrepreneurs, it's got the link in there. So let me just go there. Yeah, epicpreneur.com. Okay. So be sure and go to Epicpreneur and discover your epic code, because when you learn how to do that with other people, that's going to give you the opportunity to listen better, which is what Cheryl was talking about. So Cheryl, Stephanie and I are going to jump off, and then I'll come back on. Yasmin should be here anytime, and Jennifer had some things she was going to try to jump on. So the show is yours, and Cheryl, I think it'd be great, though, for you to talk about how we're going to be working to create Epic for kids in the future, and how that plays into being entrepreneurial in the future, because we have to teach young people how to chart their own course. The day is gone where a corporation takes care of you. I'm not saying that we're not still going to have jobs for things, but we have to encourage people not to only think of college as an option, but to think of being an entrepreneur as an option for our young people. So, Cheryl, take it away. I'll be back. Stephanie, I'm going to X out, you X out, and this will keep going.
I will talk to.
Awesome job, guys.
Yeah. So I talk to myself all the time anyway, so I guess this really shouldn't be any different. One of the things that I was thinking about when Dottie was talking about, when she talks about how we're going to roll this out for Epic Kids, it's funny because what was the book? Everything You Ever Wanted to Know You Learned in Kindergarten, right? Was one of the books. And I would say that what we're trying to do is everything we ever needed to know, we learned at our kitchen table, because ripples, the strength of what we do in our country, it doesn't start. I mean, we keep looking at all this stuff out here that goes on around us. It's kind of like the hurricane that's swirling around us. And in the center of that is, our family. And that family has to be strong, because that's where the ripples start. And if we can create that conversation and make it strong, then the ripples that flow out, because ripples don't flow in, they flow out. So we have to strengthen that first. Then we can strengthen our companies and our schools and our communities and our churches and then eventually our nation and then the world. And we have to go back to, I think, the heartbeat of what it really means to sit down and have that conversation. So that's really my heartbeat. That's been my passion. And, I think what we're trying to do with the Epic now is to take some of these tools, because it's been fascinating as Dottie's been really, really delving into creating these epic discussions, because what it does is it's a value-driven system. And I'll certainly let her talk about this. But if you can sit down at a table and talk to someone about their values, there's 3 things that I absolutely fell in love with. And one of them is a book called The 5 Love Languages, and how we give love and how we receive love. And Yasmin, I see that you're here. So if you grab, I don't know if she told me how to do this. How do I grab you? How do I put you in this seat? Do you know? Can you type in there how I put you into this? Let me see. Maybe which will make it. She doesn't know how either. Okay, let me see if I can figure it out. Let's see. Does anybody on here know how you add somebody on? I will take Cheryl. Yes, The Language of Love Spoken. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, that is a great book. We may have to wait till Dottie comes back on, because I'm not seeing the plus key, which I saw before, which I think was what allowed me to add someone. Yasmin. So I may need to continue talking to myself here, because I'm not seeing. Let me see what that is. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to. I guess we'll have to wait. So anyway, The 5 Love Languages is one of my favorite books. And if you haven't read it, I would encourage you to, because it really is so eye-opening. I used to have, I tell the story, one of my boys just used to, I'd drag him along the house, right? He was like 2 or 3 years old, and I would just drag him everywhere. And I was exhausted and sort of fighting it. And he just, was clung to me constantly. And finally, one day I read that book, and I realized his love language was physical touch. And the only thing I changed was getting up in the morning and sitting with him, on my lap for 10 or 15 minutes, reading to him or doing anything that we were close. And to this day, he's 22 years old. If we go for a walk, he'll walk me right off the sidewalk, because that's just his, that's who he is. And that's how he communicates. And so when I understood that, the change for him grabbing onto me and me dragging him around the house wasn't sort of gradual change. It was immediate, because all of a sudden what he needed was being met. And for me, it was, until he got really tired in the evening, it was like the whole day was just like this wonderful experience. And before, it was really, draining on both of us. So The 5 Love Languages, I would just encourage you, and it's great for any relationship. My husband and I both read it. It's amazing. The other thing is, find something. I really like Personality Plus. I've actually done the DISC certification in the past. I don't. It's a little more complicated. There's one called Personality Plus, which is a much easier to do, and it really gets into the personalities, and it's so much fun. And there's probably some really great ones out there. In fact, I'll be looking for those ideas for younger kids to be able to do. And then what Dottie's doing with the Epic, I think is just amazing. But it's more of the values. What are your values, and what drives you, and what really helps you to create your why? And so I think those three things, that if we understood and listened to people and really had those conversations going, it would just be, I think an amazing thing, not only, but again, strengthening it in our homes first and allowing that to ripple out would be, I think, the start point, and strengthening that first. And then we can look at how, that plays out. But we've got to get, it's my opinion, we've got to get back to the basics. We got to get back to, learning to really listen to each other and have those conversations. So are there any questions? If anybody wants to put a question in, because let's see what she's got here. It says, at Dottie Berry 1, type co-host. Okay, so I still don't know what she's saying. I apologize. I didn't know I was doing this, and I should have gotten some direction. I didn't know everybody was jumping off and leaving me here. I'm sure. So Dottie put this at Dottie Berry 1. So where do I type that in the? Don't worry about it. Yasmin's like, that's okay. Just keep talking. She's lucky. I can be pretty good at that. Or she could just call in. Okay, can you try that, Yasmin? If you want to try to call in, yeah. See, Yasmin's saying she loves the love languages too. I'm telling you that it's Gary Chapman wrote that book, and I literally give that book as a gift. When I go to somebody's for their wedding, they get that book, and I really encourage them to read it because it's a game changer in terms of relationships. So that along with the personalities, along with the values, you can have some really great stuff. And then the other thing I'd really, when I did the Next Best Brain Idea for Humanity, that was all centered around a process for families to sit down and have this conversation. And there were 4 sort of guiding, and this is what I really want to get and be able to cover, because I think when you give some examples of these things, it can be so powerful. But the first thing was the electronics were off, and it's funny because we love technology and we do amazing things with it, but there ought to be this space and time for 15 minutes, a half an hour, where the person across from you during this family meeting is just more important than the technology. It's more important than the cell phone. And so putting it away. Now, I will tell you, when we had our family meetings, we always got the computers out at the end, and we watched videos together, and we did all kinds of things like that. And so it's not about the technology's not amazing, because it is. It's how you use it, right? Money, it isn't in itself amazing. It's what you do with money that makes it amazing. Technology is the same way. It's what you do with technology that can make it good or bad. And if you use it in a positive way, there's just wonderful things out there and ways that we communicate, like we are right now, obviously. So, put away the technology for a while. The second one was the don't quack the duck, which we sort of already covered a little bit in terms of just respecting someone else's idea. And then the third thing was to live above the mark, which is really all about taking ownership and having that accountability and responsibility. So when we had our family meetings, we had to live above the mark. We could, if we had a really tough conversation, it was okay to have that tough conversation, but I couldn't just be pointing fingers, and we couldn't just blame someone else. We had to see where our ownership in that conversation was coming from. And then the fourth thing, which I think we probably need, and everyone needs now, probably more than ever before, which is to celebrate our differences. It's easy to celebrate and we should celebrate what we have in common, because we always want to look for those common things that we have, but we also want to be able to look at the things that we do differently and celebrate those as well. And, obviously, everybody has unique talents and unique skills. And I think sometimes we don't even know how to celebrate ourselves. So I think the whole thing around just learning to celebrate and appreciate the other person is really important, and listening and having communication. My husband has a healthcare practice, and And up on the thing, it always says that almost everything in life, not everything, but almost everything in life can be solved with three things: diet, exercise, and communication. And I don't know if that's true, but it's hard to think of too many things that can't be solved. And communication is so important. And I feel like sometimes, especially online, but, even I used to say this about Twitter, although I think Twitter's made amazing changes, but I used to feel like everybody was sort of just running around with a megaphone yelling stuff and nobody was listening, right? So, but when you really know how to really have those conversations and really listen, it's very, very powerful. So, Yasmin, where you see the open seat, does it not give you an opportunity to just grab it if you click on it? Sometimes that works, because I think that's what I did. But then, let's see what this is, +1. Well, no, that's not doing it either. So, but I think if you click on the open seat, maybe it will call you in. Do you want? I just see a flashing light. LOL. Okay, it says waiting for host. Oh, so clearly Dottie, I thought she set me up as a co-host, and that apparently didn't take, because otherwise it wouldn't be saying that to you. So we're going to have to wait. I don't know. Hey, Yasmin, you know what you might, thank you. I appreciate that. You know what you might want to do though is Skype, or, well, don't Skype because she won't look at it. Maybe text Dottie and let her know that she's closed you out, because I would love to be having this discussion, especially because you have a young one, you have kids, and you represent, let's see, you represent our 30s or 40s. Gosh, I'm terrible. Isn't it really? So Janice is 40s. Okay. See, I was just trying to make you younger. And I represent our 50 age group, and then Dottie represents the 60s. And great that we have all these ages that are on here, and we all have different issues. I was talking earlier, Yasmin, to Dottie and everyone on here. We were talking about the fact that I sort of just got out of what they call that stuck in the middle age. And you may be going into it, I don't know, because I'm not sure with your parents, but I had elderly parents and I had kids. So I was stuck in the middle between those. And there's a really good book, I think, called Stuck in the Middle. And it talks about that time in our life. And it's sort of, and I do still have the elderly parents that we're dealing with. And actually I have a grandmother who's 93. So we still have that piece of it. But my kids are older, right? But I'm very engaged into my kids' life. And so in terms of, I talk to them all the time. And so, I feel like they're still there, but obviously for those of you like Yasmin that have younger kids, I remember those days, and it's a balancing act and a half. And now, I don't have those challenges, and I'm thankful for that. But, every age that your kids are is absolutely amazing. The first time we ever had our family meeting, my boys were probably, probably about 7 and 10, or maybe 9 and 6, because they're about 3 years difference in age. And, it's kind of a funny story. It's funny now. It wasn't so funny in the moment, but I had a meltdown over my son asking for a tube of chapstick. And that was what pushed me over the edge and into a crazy person. And that was the first night that we sat down as a family and had this, what I'd call our first official family meeting. And every Sunday night at 7:00, that became our time. And it was sacred. It was our time to spend together. And, I had parents say, well, I don't think my kids would go for it. And, and I'm like, if you understood what comes from it, it wouldn't really matter if your kids would go for it. You just have to, if you're half committed to something, people know it. Your kids know it. The kids know it faster than anyone. If you're 100% committed to it, they may not like it, but they will respect you for your commitment. And that's where you have to, I think as a parent, you have to let them know that it is important. When we sat down and we had that first official family meeting, and Brian, sometimes my older one, would roll his eyes when I'd say, hey, it's meeting time. And I'd be, that's fine. Just go ahead and, roll your eyes, and when you're done, get to the table because we're still going to have our meeting. And, 2 or 3 minutes into it, everybody was engaged, and we had, just amazing connections and conversations, and we learned how to support each other. We learned so much. They learned a lot about me. I mean, I really thought it was going to be me just imparting all my wisdom onto my children. And the truth is, I can tell you at the end, I guarantee you I learned way more from them than they learned from me ultimately. But more importantly, what we learned together and how we became a team is what I would wish for every family, because, and it's not that it was always easy. In fact, we were in some really challenging times, hence the reason I had a meltdown over a tube of chapstick, right? So we allowed ourselves to, be honest and open in those as we worked through it, and actually ended up creating different than what Stephanie, because Stephanie, I love what she's going to talk about, because she's going to be talking about the fact that we have, ways to make money, right? Because she's right. It's so much easier to go out and maybe find those ways to make money versus trying to just always cut expenses. But I will tell you that I had written, after that experience with my own boys, I took some of the things that we did, and I came up with I had a book, 101 creative ways to save money. And it wasn't so much that, we thought we were going to have to do all these sacrifices. And truthfully, a lot of the things we did became things that we did together, and we found ways to actually work through those things together. So it became this powerful thing for us. So instead of, us ordering pizza, we found a way to make pizza, and David became really good at it. And he became the little chef in our house. And every Friday night, that was sort of the thing that we did. And it became a tradition. And we started a lot more traditions because we started looking at ways to share together. And, my kids stepped in and did amazing things in terms of ways that they wanted to be a part of the solution, and I'll never forget, you have those moments in life where you go, wow, now I realize what a difference that made. Sometimes you're in the middle of something and you don't even realize how profound it is until later. And I'll never forget when Brian was a senior in high school and they were having their big celebration casino night. And I said to him, aren't you going to your, because the neighbor asked me if Brian was going. I said, I don't even know about it. Let me ask Brian. I said, Brian, are you going? And he said, well, I want to go. But he said, I forgot to bring it up in our family meeting. And he said, and then I sat back and I thought, geez, would I want to take 40 of my own dollars out of savings to go to this? And he goes, I kind of decided I wouldn't. And he said, so I just really didn't think it was fair for me to ask you to spend your money if I was unwilling to spend my own. And, I got to be honest with you, in that moment, I was kind of like this little twinge of like, oh my gosh, like this kid needs to go. And he did go, by the way. But the point is that I didn't have a kid that was fighting me about, you should do this for me and you should do that for me. He was part of our team, and he understood that he had a responsibility to that team, and he wanted to help contribute to it. So it was in that moment that I realized, wow, we really pulled together and did some just absolutely amazing things. And, we lost a lot during that time. We lost our home and whatever, but during it and through the whole process, we found each other. And that's really, I didn't set out to create a family meeting toolkit. It happened over time. My kids contributed to it. And when I started sharing it, I had other families say, how can we, do something similarly? And I thought, other than telling you. So what I did was I took what we did and I created a placemat, a dry erase placemat that actually allowed a family to walk through a similar family meeting, certainly make it their own, but it gave them the foundation to get started. And that's really how Kitchen Table evolved. And now, it's just become my passion, because I realize, to this day, my kids still send me favorite quotes that they have. We share books that we're reading together. If something's going on in their life, we have conversations about it. And, I have 2 boys, and boys are not known for sharing their feelings a lot of times. Right. But David and Brian both really do share and have those open and honest conversations, not only with me, but, with others too, and other family members, and even with each other. We all know how to support each other, and that was really important. So, so I shared a lot of stories. I'm hoping Dottie will be back by the end of that one. But, for those of you that have hung in here and, are listening, I really do appreciate it. It's made me feel good. I've gotten some good hand clapping, which is always exciting to see. So I love the opportunity to share this because I think, I feel like we're in a really challenging time right now with families and the challenges that they have and they face. When you hear some of the things that go on, if we don't start back at the core of this and get our families really connected, I think that that disconnect is going to get bigger and bigger because, again, there's so many things to distract us these days. I watched a family the other night go out to dinner and thought that it was going to be, their big night out. And then as soon as they sat down, you know what they all did? They all broke out their technology, right? They're all literally, the kids are texting and the mom's on an iPad and the dad was doing something on his cell phone. And it was crazy, right? In terms of this was their night to spend together and they were all sitting there on their technology, not having a conversation. And that's the piece that I think has to change. I think we have to get back to those kind of conversations. So we have gone about an hour and Yasmin, it looks like you're going to talk about the next blab. Great job, Look. I thank you. Appreciate that. I don't know if Dottie's coming back. I thought she was. So this has been an interesting blab. I guess I've got good practice here today talking to myself. And oh, look at that. Here comes somebody in. Because Dottie's coming back. There we go. I've been saved.
Yeah, here I am. There's Yasmin. So you weren't able.
And it's so funny because now I have a 1 o'clock call that I'm jumping on, but it's so funny we didn't know how to get on.
Oh, but, Cheryl, I had made you
phenomenal. She's phenomenal.
I made you the co-host, Cheryl, so you could let her in the room.
It wouldn't let me do it. There's nothing that allows me to invite her in, and it said that her screen was saying it had to wait for you to return.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Stephanie and I had to jump off for a minute. This is a great thing about blabs. It's like the digital where you're sitting on the front porch and you say, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back or something.
Yeah, let me just, I have been blabbing away.
She did. Oh my God. It was phenomenal. I was sitting there listening, taking notes myself. So it was awesome. I know we're upon our hour and I actually have a scheduled call right at this time, but I want to say, Cheryl, I have a 3-year-old, as you know. And I love the family meeting. I love what your husband said about communication, diet, and exercise. I love, I was writing notes, as a student. I always think of myself as a teacher and a student. And you did phenomenal. It was great. You look great. You sound great. I love your stories. And I'm excited for our lab sessions for all of us to share and getting to know one another and then sharing this with the people who are joining us. So thank you so much, Dottie, for, putting this together.
Well, thanks, Yasmin. I'm sorry. I tried to make Cheryl co-host so that when I left, she would be able to get you on because we waited until the time we thought you were going to be here. And so, we had to jump off to Stephanie and I did real quick, but it's all good. And, Cheryl's like the person who in the government stands up there and states her case and goes on, but in a good way.
Yep, absolutely. Well, she did great. And I know this is a new technology for all of us. So I appreciate that everyone's being patient with us as we're learning how to use this as a tool to communicate. So anyway, I do need to jump off on a 1 o'clock that I'm doing a coaching call with. So I just wanted to say till next time we have our next blab, right?
Yeah, next week we're off, but we'll be back on the 31st at the same time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. So Yasmin, you're the best. And she's our generation, the 40s generation, not the 40 years, but the 40s generation. And so we appreciate you, and we'll see you later, okay?
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye. Great job, Cheryl, again. Have a great holiday, everyone.
You too. Bye. So, Cheryl, you and I will stay on here just a minute. I will X Yasmin out. There she goes. So thanks for carrying on. I can't wait to go back in here and,
there was a little bit of I kept trying to figure it out. And then when I said to her, I said, well, can't you just grab the seat? And she says, no, it says it won't let me till Dottie gets back.
Whatever. Yeah, I put it in there. And so I'm not sure, I just knocked something over here. you're supposed to be able to go over the avatar and put up where it's got an H1, and it wasn't popping up. And it said if that doesn't come up, to type it in the comment box over here. So I typed in what it said to put in the comment box, but hey, it's all good.
Yeah, there's probably something I should have done that maybe would have started it. I just had no idea, and I tried a couple things, and I thought I'll end up closing out the whole session if I put too many things here. So and Yasmin's like, just keep going. It sounds great. You're doing. She was giving me all kinds of support over here in the right.
Well, that's good, and I appreciate it, Cheryl. So anybody, to everybody out there, we are blabbing about 5 generations of epic entrepreneurial women who are actually going to give you the opportunity to be coached and mentored by some great coaches, as you can see. I mean, everybody in their own right is a valid expert coach. And so this is your opportunity to get complimentary help and position your business by joining us in the Get Your Biz Lean in 2016, the 30-day Epic Business Challenge. It's all going to be about helping you set the tone for 2016. Not just talking about it, right, Cheryl? We talked about this earlier. Not just talking about it, but taking action so that you actually do something, all right? And you get started and cement your success, your epic success for 2016. So just in closing, you can go to the link that I have put in there for epicpreneurs.com, because that's going to give you, first of all, a way to discover your epic code, all right? And that's a $75 complimentary report. That's our gift to you. And once you do that, there's going to be a thank you page that pops up. It'll give you another link. And in that link, that's going to take you over to where you can join us for this challenge. Go ahead and get signed up, and you'll be getting some emails on that. So anyway, it's going to be fun, Cheryl. I mean, this is our first time of doing the Get Your Biz Lean in 2016, because 16 hasn't ever happened before. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, I'm going to show this real quick and then we'll go. But my David, I think I shared with you before we came on and we're recording. He had that date last night, right? So he says, you know, I think I'm going to take my epic cards and I'm going to code her. And I said, hey, why not? I should. And so I don't know if he did it off to ask him, but he said, what better way to see if maybe the person, you know, just to understand the values, right? Because it's fun anyway. I mean, David and I have done it. He loves it, right? He loves that kind of stuff, and he's 22 and thinks it's just amazing. So he's gonna code his.
Ask him if he did. It is a great tool. I was doing a blab earlier today where Janet Johnson asked me to be a guest and interview me on one at 9 a.m. this morning. And we just talked about all the variety of ways that you can use this. And she said, oh, that'd be great for dating and all. I met a guy on a plane recently that he's going to do, because he said, I'm terrible at relationships. He's very successful. I said, oh, you first of all, stop saying you're terrible.
Yeah.
Who are you going to attract when you're saying I'm terrible at relationship? It's almost like, I'm terrible at relationship. I'm bad. So, and he's going to use those cards, you know, as he meets somebody, simply as a way to know more about them so he can speak in their epic language. I mean, that's the real value, people.
That is. And, you know, there's a book called, and I don't even know if it's in print anymore, but I always remembered it because it was called Hung by the Tongue. Uh-huh. And how powerful words are. And when you say, you know, things like he's saying, you know, you've got to get rid of those. That's, if, you know, that would be something we should definitely cover, because we create our future by with the words that we use. So powerful. And so yes, we definitely need him to quit saying that. Otherwise, he's bringing it.
It was like this aha moment for him, and he had his son with him, who had just had a date. This is interesting. The night before, they were on their way to Hawaii, and the kid thought the date went great, and then as he tried to say to the gal, you know, kind of more what he was feeling and all, then she was like, oh, no, you know. So he was confused. He felt confused. So he was really excited about having his cards, and he was going to use those in Hawaii, you know.
Yeah.
Because I told him, I said, hey, you're a great-looking young man. I hear there's a lot of neat ladies that like guys like you with great smiles and great eyes. And he just grinned, you know. I mean, so he and his dad loved it. And what he and his dad found out is the difference in the way their codes are. Like this young man's code, his primary code was a C, which means he's a connector, okay? And his dad's primary code is an I, which means that's intelligent, and he likes things researched and, kind of written out and documented. And he looked at his son and he said, oh, that's why you're always high-fiving with your friends and everything. And it was kind of like the dad going, like, if you did that with his dad, he'd be like, what are you doing? But what he saw was that he needs to relate to his son the way his son likes to be related to.
Right. Absolutely.
Big message. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for your solo performance, Cheryl, here on Blab. I know you were amazing. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody on the 31st with our next Blab for our mavens here in Epic Entrepreneurs, okay?
And I encourage everyone to go get their Epic code done. It's fun. You'll learn a ton, and I guarantee you'll want to go out and code someone else too. And it's just a great conversation to be having.
Yeah, there we go. Well, fantastic. We will see everybody on the 31st. Bye for now. Thanks, Cheryl.
See ya.